Hey guys, we're back in the garage again tonight, and we're going to work on the original front beam from the 71 VW pan. For the longest time, this beam was kind of tucked back over there near the wall, and I got it out because, like I've mentioned in previous videos, my narrowed and drop spindle beam is not going to be here until later, probably late this summer. No fault of air cooled, you know, they're busy and they're part of the backlog. So I got this one out and thinking, oh, just throw it on the car. But I got some problems. A little bit of wear and tear. Pretty much every boot is shot. There's, you know, damaged products all over the place. So I'm gonna go through and finish taking this apart. You can kind of see I've started taking some of the parts apart. And I'm gonna strip this all the way down. And then we're going to clean up anything that needs to be cleaned up. And I've got parts on order to rebuild the whole beam. It should be a pretty fun project. So let's tear into it. I'm gonna put you guys on a little time lapse here, so you don't have to watch everything that happens. A little bit of penetrating oil, the impact wrench, without too much stress, should take care of nearly everything. All right, see you on the other side. Every once in a while, the hammering's not going to work, and I really don't feel like breaking anything or hitting something too hard. So we're going to turn to our old friend, heat. I'm going to lightly heat up these joints. I'm not worried about the rubber bushings. They're all going to get replaced. Any of the rubber boots, they're all consumables at this point. Everything's getting replaced in there. I'm going to heat up the joints a little bit. They did get hit with penetrating lube the other day and last night and this morning. So we should have the ability to get down in there, but 1971, 2023, I think we're 52 years into these parts being together. So I think there's some corrosion and some galvanic reactions going on. So I'll hit this with a hot wrench, see if we can get some stuff apart. So I spared you guys a lot of the pain and suffering, and here's the disassembled components. The beam in, the heart of it is right there in front of you. There's each of the control arms. So you can see on the uppers, so this is the upper and that's an upper, there's pretty good grease. It looks like the grease was replaced at some point, but on the lowers, I can see quite a bit of corrosion right there, and this one. I'm gonna have to do a lot of work to clean that one up. I am gonna pull the bearings out of here. You can see on the upper there's grease, but on the bottom it's dry. And it's pretty much the same for the other side. There's evidence of grease on this side, on the upper, but not really on the lower. All of that is gonna get taken apart. The spindles came apart after a little bit of hammering. Spared you guys the hammering. The steering controls, 52 years might be too much for the pieces to come apart. So I'm ordering new pieces from Rock Auto, and they should be here in a couple days. So my next step in this process is I'm going to really clean everything up. Get the wire wheel after a few places that we didn't get when we sandblasted. I'm probably gonna open the box up and pack some new grease in there, get the old stuff out of there and pack new grease into that. And just try to get everything cleaned up. These sway bar bushings come off. They just kind of, you pull this tab back up. You can see how it's bent down. You pull that tab back down and it'll hammer right off. On this side, I've got a little work to do to get this bushing from the old shock off of there. But we'll get this beam rebuilt and ready to rock and roll. I was on the fence as to whether I wanted to cut it and shorten it as part of this process, but I'm just going to leave it stock width for now. I have a buddy who has a jig that will hold this and help with narrowing. And but I'm not going to get there today. I'm not going to do that today. Maybe I'll pull one of my other beams and do that, since I have the 77 and this one and the one coming from air cooled. Maybe I'll get this rebuilt, and then once I get through this year, maybe over the winter time, next winter, I'll cut this down and get it prepped for narrowing. Maybe cut a couple inches out of it. I think the front beam I ordered for the dune buggy is 4 inches narrowed. So maybe I'll do this as 2, and then I'll have beams to swap out. And a couple weeks have gone by, as does happen in the world. We went up to upstate New York for a wedding, had a good time. Now here we are back, and we'll walk you through where we are before I go back for reassembly of this beam. Reassembly is probably going to be a part 2 of this one, but you can see where we got. And so the original beam that we started with, that I disassembled, it's over there. It's right there, laying on the pile. And so this beam is what I got from the parts haul. It's got a couple rough rust spots on it that I ground down a little bit, cleaned up, and put some rust converter on it, and then painted it. But the reason I'm going with this one is it's set up with Avis style adjusters. Now, Avis style adjusters aren't the best ones in the world, but they're going to do what we need them to do. So I had to go in and had to install the adjusters that are in here. You basically have to go in from the end, drive out all the bearings that are in there on both top and bottom, and put the Avis adjuster in. Once you do that, they are tied in with a gland nut, and then you can use composite bushings or your bearings, and that acts as your bearing surface. I'm going to put all of this back together. You can see I went through and I painted my upper and lower control arms on both sides. It's just some blue painter's tape on there to keep part of the surface clean. I'll pull that tape off and then hit that with some 4.0 steel wool. I've got the pitman arm painted up. It's ready to go. I'm going to go in and get ready for reassembly, but that, like I said, that's going to be the next video. I have all the parts ready to rock and roll, tie rods, tie rod ends, ball joints to press into these. I'll walk through the pressing the ball joints in and out. And I struggled a little bit with trying to make sure which is top and which is bottom and which is left and which is right. So I'll walk through all that in the reassembly process. I made a couple rookie mistakes, and I'll figure if I learn from them, I'm going to share with you guys. So look forward to next week's video. We're going to go through the reassembly of this front beam so we can get it put it onto the chassis over here. And I do have some good news. I won't spill it, but it has to do with my wheels. Yeah, I get really excited. So here we go, ramping up for another good week. All right, thanks guys. I look forward to seeing you in a week or so. Like, share, and subscribe. Tell all your friends, and I'll see you next time. Bye.